Prime Minister absolutely supports.
Sides coming dangerously close to the sparks all-out war in the Middle East.
She remembers as first responders waste.
The summer of 2025 belongs to an epoch where uncertainty prevails. Staring vacantly at the news popping up on my computer screen, I began to realize, for the first time, the brunt that our generation and I carry in determining the future fate of our humanity. Lost in thoughts, I browsed the internet aimlessly until I stumbled upon another Chinese man whose story, though over 200 years old, endured to this day. He too was subjugated to a chaotic surrounding and precarious future. His name was Huang Ya Dong, a Seven Oaks alumni and also the first Chinese man to study in the United Kingdom. Huang Ya Dong was born around 1753, during the reign of the Qianlong Emperor, in Canton or modern-day Guangzhou. In the 1770s, or around the 39th year of the Qianlong Emperor, a time when the Qing dynasty was rapidly shunning itself from the world, Huang Ya Dong left his beloved hometown in China. This was a tough choice for Huang. The Qing dynasty was a time when the government was pursuing a policy of self-isolationism, and it forbade the free exchange of knowledge between Chinese and non-Chinese people. The government was so paranoid of Western culture that Canton was the only port in which Chinese people were able to leave the country. Despite having family members who had pursued medicinal careers for generations in China, Huang ultimately decided to leave his country to learn about not just a new medical system, but also a completely new culture. Who opened this door of opportunity, which so fortuitously changed the lives of so many? And why did he decide to embark on such an adventure? John Bradley Blake was not just a supercargo for the British East India Company, he was also an avid botanical collector. Blake became the man who provided Huang with an opportunity to study abroad. When he arrived in Canton in 1766, his love for horticulture and his shrewdness as a cunning merchant convinced him that the plants in that city could yield huge financial profit. He thus decided to bring some of the plant cultures back to England. To better facilitate this, Blake decided to bring an agricultural expert from China to help him breed the plant species he brought back. It is thought that it was Blake who encouraged Huang to travel to England to exchange botanical, medical, and cultural knowledge. However, unfortunately, in the November of 1773, Blake contracted a disease and fell to convalescence. He died in Canton at the youthful age of 28. Despite the death of Huang's original sponsor, Blake's father, Captain John Blake, took Huang under his care. In 1774, he brought Huang, aged only 21, to England during the reign of King George III. After arriving in England, Huang lived initially with Captain Blake. His identity as a medical expert, a botanical lover, and the first Chinese man to settle on British soil helped him draw interest from local social and intellectual elites. These elites brought Huang to the Royal Society in London, Britain's leading scientific institution, in January of 1775. The plant specimens Blake and Huang worked on together were delivered there, forever reminding posterity of the timelessness of cross-cultural knowledge. Yet many of the original collections were lost, and only a few remained to this day. Huang also discussed Chinese ceramics with the elites, and his knowledge of porcelain soon allowed him to befriend the famed British potter Josiah Wedgwood. Physicians also frequently visited him to learn about acupuncture, a mysterious technique that had fascinated British doctors. These interactions positioned Huang as a cultural intermediary between East and West. As for his education, Huang attended Seven Oaks School, my alma mater, which was then a grammar school in Kent, making him our school's first recorded international student, over 200 years before my own enrollment. While studying there, after being introduced to Duke John Sackville, Huang lived in No House in Kent, the Duke's personal estate. During my first years in England, I struggled to adapt to the British culture. For example, the British food, known not least for its undeliciousness, British football cultures, the dry British humor, and etc. My quote-unquote unusual idiosyncrasies, such as my insistence on drinking hot water, are also often the topic of my peers. While I was struggling with such trivial affairs,
Huang managed to quickly familiarize himself with England and its rich cultural fabric. Huang returned to Canton in 1784, after 10 years of his life in England. The British books he brought back were deemed as dangerous by the Qing government, and no one could comprehend the lasting annotations in his books. Little more was known of this man after his return to China, and he most certainly did not leave an indelible mark in history. If no one would remember him, what was the purpose of entering a foreign nation in the first place? Huang might not have constructed an indestructible cultural bridge between the West and the Oriental cultures, but he did prove to posterity that simple actions could mean the bringing together of two previously completely different cultures.
It was only after learning about Huang's incredible journey that I commiserated with him and understood that journeys did not have to leave huge impacts to be successful. When Huang decided to board that ship heading for the unknown, his purpose had already been satisfied. It was the most consummate purpose of mankind, an ardent thirst for knowledge and an innate desire for the unknown.